Okay, for this video lesson, I'm going to do the first 3 problems with you now. There will be no do now. What you're going to do is you're going to come to class and we will work on the other problems during class. Okay? And when you get done with that stuff, you can start the review, because at this point we are going to start studying for the next exam. So, it says 2 forces of 21.8 and 34.2 pounds act on a body with an angle of 52.6 degrees between them. Find to the nearest tenth the magnitude of the resultant. Okay, whenever you hear something about forces and resultants, what you are going to end up doing is draw yourself a parallelogram or a diamond. I tend to draw diamonds when I do these things. But at the top of your paper, you do see they draw parallelograms. On the outside, you place your forces. So my forces are 21.8. 34.2. It says they act on a body. That body is always right there. There's an angle of 52.6 degrees between them. That is this angle right there. A lot of people put it up top, but it's that angle right there, and that whole thing is 52.6 degrees. We want to find to the nearest tenth of a pound the magnitude of the resultant. The resultant is always the diagonal. Well, in order to find that, let's place the stuff on the bottom of the triangle to the top triangle. So that 34.2 can be placed up top. Now look at your top triangle only. In this particular triangle, you have 2 sides. You have the third side right there, and we're given that this full angle is 52.6. What I am first going to do is to find this angle right there. The way I find that is the fact that these 2 angles always add up to 180. So I'm going to take 180 and I'm going to subtract 52.6 to give me 127.4. Now that I have that angle and I'm looking again only at the top triangle, I could use law of cosines to find x. Some of you are saying, well, just use law of sines. You're not allowed to use that 52.6 because it is part of 2 separate triangles. So instead, we'll use our law of cosines. It'll be x squared equals my other 2 sides squared minus 2 times those 2 sides times cosine of the angle, 127.4. Type the whole right-hand side in your calculator. Remember to take the square root of the answer. You will round to the nearest tenth, and you get 50.5 pounds. And that's it. So we're just using law of sines and law of cosines again today, except we are given forces and vectors instead. Next one says 2 forces act on a body such that the resultant is 73.4, so that's the diagonal. The angles between the resultant and the applied forces, so that's here and here, are 56 and 47. Find to the nearest tenth of a pound the magnitude of the larger applied force. Well, whatever's in the bottom triangle, I'm going to move to the top. So that 47 is actually this angle right there. And you want to find the magnitude of the larger applied force. The larger force is across from the larger angle, so that's this side right there. In order to be able to find that side, it would be nice if you had the angle across from the 73.4, because then you could use law of sines. We could easily get that, though, by taking 180 and subtracting off my other 2 degrees. And you end up getting 77. Now I can use law of sines. So it's going to be 73.4 over sine 77 is equal to x over sine 56. Cross multiply. Divide by sine 77. You end up getting x equals, nearest tenth it says, 62.5. Number 3, find to the nearest tenth of a degree the angle between the applied forces of 37 and 62. 37, 62. We want to find this angle if we know the resultant is 48.4. Bring the 62 up. I know you guys are saying you want to use your law of cosines and go straight to finding that angle, but you can't because it's a piece of two different triangles. So instead what we are going to do is we are going to find this angle up top and know that the red and the black angle will add up to 180. So to find the red angle up top, we will use our law of cosines. So it's going to be 48.4 squared equals my other two sides squared minus those two sides, 2 times those two sides, cosine of my angle x. 48.4 squared is 2,342.56. 37 squared and 62 squared is 5213. Minus 2 times 37 times 62 is 4588. Cosine x. Subtract the 5213, you get negative 2,870.44 is equal to negative 4588 cos x. Divide by negative 4588. Take your inverse cos. Rounding to the nearest tenth, let's do 51.3. Now that you have your red angle, you can find your black angle by just taking 180 degrees and subtract 51.3, which will give you the black angle is equal to 128.7 degrees. And we will finish the rest up. You guys will work on them in class tomorrow. Do not worry about working on them now.